In this presentation, we'll continue on with setting up our service items. Let's zoom into it with Xero. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars Company dashboard. Last time we talked about setting up our service items. We're going to continue on with that discussion. We're going to be setting the drop down, or go to the drop down for the business items. We're going to go down to the products and service. That's where you go to set up the service items. We're going to be setting up the service items here with the importing feature. So we're going to be selecting the import this time. Once again, as we saw last time, we're going to be importing the items. So importing of the items. When you're thinking items, you're thinking kind of the things we sell, whether that be service or inventory. We call them kind of the inventory and service items. I'm going to open up the template file here. So we're going to be opening up the old template file, and we're going to adjust this template file so we can practice kind of the import process. Now note that this template is kind of got the lines are overlapping each other. What I'll do is I'll just highlight all these columns that are involved, and you could double click on them. Like I could put my cursor in between these two columns so it looks like that, not like that, but like that, not like that, but like that, and then double click on it, and it'll optimize the size of the cell to put the information there. All right. Now we are going to be taking this information. We're imagining that we took this information, like we downloaded it from our service items from another software, and we need to take that and populate it into the format of the other service item for Xero import features. And so we're just going to copy and paste the relevant data. Notice that we have a lot less columns here than in the other worksheet because we don't need a lot of information, because the other information had to do with inventory items, which we'll talk about next time. So I'm going to say we have the item name. So let's say item name. I'm just going to copy this item name, see if I can find an appropriate thing over here for the item name. So here's item name. Let's do that. Now it's saying that the code has a little asterisk next to it, meaning that's probably a required field. So I'm going to put the same item name in that section as well. Notice it's some overlapping. It's kind of hanging over here. It doesn't really matter. Like I can paste something here and it's not going to hurt, just like I did like between these two. But if that bothers you, and it can be bothersome, you can widen these cells up so that it doesn't bother you anymore. And you have that space. You have the space you need. You got to have the space you need there. All right. So then we can go back to the other one, and we can go to the sales description, and we should be able to find that somewhere. The sales description. So we have a purchase description. Don't really need it here because we're just talking service items. Let's make this a little larger. I'm going to go down here, make this like 150 maybe. Make it really large. So now you can see these. Maybe. So we pasted those there. We don't need the purchase. I'm not going to delete the column though, because I'm going to stick with the standard setup. I'm just not going to put anything in there. Purchase unit price, don't have one. We don't have purchase, no purchase. We're not purchasing stuff. Sales description. This is where I'm going to put the sales description. Now note that these names, you might be saying, hey, you sell guitars and you're doing a diagnostic and an hour service and a partial service tune-up. I kind of copied the model. I have more experience actually with an auto. So these are car diagnostic type things, But I do play the guitar sometimes, but I don't think, they don't typically do a diagnostic. But we're imagining there's a diagnostic for the guitar. We're kind of doing the diagnostic, and it's going to be a service item that we do. So, and then we got the hour service and so on. These are set service items. The point is we're going to sell them in a set kind of package, one price type of deal. All right. So I'm sorry, it's not a better example, but those are those. Then we have the sales unit price. So I think we have those over here. Those are going to have the sales price. Going to pick these up, and notice I'm kind of avoiding again the idea of just having an hourly rate here. We're going to say hey, these are package deals even though they're service items, and we're going to give them a set price to them, and that should make it easier. I think that's a good model to think about doing. If you're not doing a model such as that and you're using hourly rates, it might be easier if you can package things up in some ways to market your information, as well as think about the hourly rate and spend less time with the hourly rates and whatnot, if you're able to kind of package deal what your service will be and set a price for it. And then we have the sales account. Now the sales account might be like service or something like that, but we need to go back over and look at the chart of accounts for that. What I'm going to do is go back over to Xero. I'm going to right click. I'm going to duplicate this tab. And I'd like to see, well, what account did Xero set up in their chart of accounts related to sales? So let's go take a look at that. I'm going to say, let's go down to Xero's chart of accounts down here and see if I like the account they used for sales. So we're going to the chart of accounts. I'm going to hold down Control and zoom in just a bit so I could see it a bit more clearly. And we want to go down. I'm looking for the inventory, which I might be able to do by the tabs up top, the revenue accounts. So I could just go to revenue accounts up top. This is a little different than other software. They got that feature. And so sales is kind of like the sales. Now I typically think of sales as, there we go. Here's service. That's the one. Let's pick service. So that'll work. So I'm going to go over here and say that we want this one to be, the sales account is going to be service. And I'll just copy that on down. I'll use the autofill feature to do that. Sales tax, we don't have any because I'm doing the US and we don't have sales tax typically on service items. Inventory asset account, we don't have any because this is a service, not inventory. And then the cost of goods sold, don't have any because this is service item, not inventory. So I'm just going to save this and see if we can then upload it. I'm going to save it as a Excel file, and then I'm going to convert it to a CSV file. So I'll show you how to do that. We're going to say save as, and put this to the old, where do I want to put it? Now I'm going to save it here, and I kind of lied. I told you I was going to save it as an Excel file. Notice that the default setting is a CSV file already. So if I select the drop down, you could save it as an Excel file and a .xlsx file, but it's already a CSV file, and that's kind of like a simpler Excel file with less kind of functionality, so it's not going to hopefully mess up anything with formatting when you upload it to a different kind of database program. So we're going to save it as a CSV. Notice if you had an Excel file, then you can just change it by selecting the drop down and then go into the CSV file down below. Let's go ahead and save that. And it's already there, but I'm going to overwrite it. And let's do that. And then I'm going to close this. Now we can go back to the prior tab we had before. And we can go down. Step 2 says we're going to enter the information. Step 3 says that we have to save it as a CSV file. And we did that. Now we're going to go ahead and see if we can import this thing. So we're going to go to the browse feature. We're going to find where this is. I'm going to say, could I find this, please? And it's going to be here. There it is, the Xero file. It's a CSV file. I'm going to double click on that, opening it up. Here it shows here, Xero service items. That looks good. I'm going to go ahead and continue with it. And there's a problem. Let's see if we can fix the problem before we finish this up. It says that the sales account service isn't recognized. So it's having a problem with all 4 of the items with regards to this line item, this service line item. So what I'm going to do then is say, well, maybe they want the account number with it. So I'm going to go back over here and say, because I know if I go to the chart of accounts that they had a service item right here, maybe they want, maybe I can put it in there by the code, which is the 4300. So let's try that. I'm going to say this is going to be 4300, 4300, 4300, 4300. Then let's save this. Let's close that and try it again. So I'm going to go back to the first tab now. I'm going to go back to the prior thing. I'm going to say upload. I'm going to search for that file again, which has now been adjusted. There it is, the Xero file. I'm going to cross my fingers. We're going to hit continue. This time it says the imported file Xero service items contains 4 lines. From this file, Xero will create 4 items. That's good. Update Xero items. There's no items we need to update because these are the first 4, so that looks pretty good. That sounds good to me. I think that's okay. If you're happy to continue with the import, please click the complete import button below. Please note this action cannot be undone. So after we hit this button, this is like the final thing. It's gonna add them. Obviously, we could go in there and delete them if we so choose, but if you have a whole lot of them, that could be somewhat tedious to do as well, or at least you can deactivate them. So I'm gonna go ahead and complete the import process. And there they are. There's our diagnostic, there's our hourly service, and so on and so forth. If we want to edit the item, we can go ahead and click on that item, and then we're going to go into the detail for it. So here's the detail related to it. We can then go up to the editing field up top, and we're going to have that similar editing field as we saw when we first created the item, when we went over how to create an item. Notice that the I purchase item is not checked because it's not inventory. We're not purchasing anything. And the tracking item is not checked because it's not an inventory item. We only have the middle items in place because it is a service item, and that'll help us to populate our invoices for it. If you did want to remove the item, if we uploaded it and it wasn't something we wanted, we can delete it by going to the options up top and delete. Now, you'd only want to delete it if it wasn't being used. If it was in use and you had used it at some point, then you can make it inactive so it will no longer show up in the fields to populate new invoices, but it will be in place to look at reporting related to it from those transactions in which it had been used. So then we're going to go back using the cookie trail up top. I'm going to go back to the inventory. Note you also have the option here to take a group setting or group things together and then mark them as inactive or delete if you so choose as a group. So if the whole thing was messed up and you wanted to select the whole thing and just simply delete it, or if you needed to make a group of items inactive, you can do it in a faster way at that point as well. We still have the importing options, which we will use to import the inventory items, and we're going to have to deal with opening balances with regards to them. And then we have the export note as well, that you can take this information if you need to take it to some other place or use it for some other purpose. You can export the items in a CSV or PDF file. Where are these going to be used in the forms when we actually start processing things? Such as it will be used in forms such as the invoice or possibly the receive money items. So if we were to add an invoice, we're going to bill someone, then these service items will be populated. We can imagine now someone created an invoice. We're not actually going to finish the invoice. I'm just going to test this out. We can take like a diagnostic, right? There it is. The invoice then would help us to generate, be easy to put together for someone populating the invoice. They don't need to know what the service item is or how to put it in place. They don't need to know what it does. What's it going to do? This invoice would increase accounts receivable and increase revenue in the service revenue item. They don't need to know that, and they could just basically populate this form. So next time we're going to get into the other items, which is going to be the inventory items. Now again, I'm not going to post this. I'm just going to go back to the dashboard and just make sure that I'm not going to post that invoice at this time.